Hi everyone, welcome back. I've got the cup of tea out today, so this is going to be a bit of a discussion here. So, November is known as National Novel Writing Month. This is shortened to NaNoWriMo, a terrible name, where the aim is to write 50,000 words in the month of November. They think that's a novel. 50,000 words isn't a novel. But there we go. I decided to attempt this, and instead of writing 50,000 words, I think I wrote 5,000 words. And instead of writing for the whole month, I think I wrote for 3 to 4 days. So I did 10% of the work and got 10% of the results. Which is fair. So I wanted to do a bit of a look at some reasons why I failed. One, so for my own kind of try to stop this from happening again. Also to kind of share how it went, because the internet is full of lots of people talking about their successes, and I think not everyone can succeed all the time at everything. And in terms of this failure, nobody got hurt, nobody died, nobody lost their home, nobody lost their job, so it's harmless ultimately. And this is a goal that I set for myself. No one asked me to do this. I decided to do this, and then I failed. So, a little bit of pretext. I have. This is the third writing project that I have started. First of all, I wrote a book. I actually have finished a book. Not just the first draft. I think I've done like 6 drafts of it. I finished it a few years ago, and I tried to get an agent. I was on querying. I was querying for agents, and I wasn't getting anything back. Probably queried about 50 agents, literary agents. I did enter the Guppy Prize for fiction and got longlisted for it. So I was in the top 40 of people who submitted, and then they had a top 10, and I didn't get through to the top 10. A key problem I found with the book was, my book, I feel, is young adult because the characters are teenagers. It's in a fantasy world, but it's an adventure story, so which innately has a middle-age children's fiction side to it. It's kind of a children's fiction world, but with young adult characters. And the book ended up being quite long and having themes and violence. Not too much, but kind of, I couldn't really fit it in anywhere. And then, while I was querying that book, I was like, I'm going to keep writing, because writing's an exercise, it's a muscle. I'm going to keep writing. So I started writing a book about coughing. No, I started writing a book set in the future about time travel, kind of a tech thriller set in an underwater base near an underwater volcano. And I was writing the first draft, and I decided I'd write it a different way to try new things. And I was writing, and I was getting there. I was about 50 to 60% of the way through the plot. And then the pandemic happened, and I was not in the headspace to write. I just couldn't get there. I just couldn't do what I wanted to do. And priorities were on different things. And then since the pandemic, we've adopted, we've now got 2 children, our lives are very different. And then I was like, I know, I'm going to start a new writing project. And this project is actually a sequel to the first book I wrote. That is like the first rule of writing for publication, is don't write sequels to books you haven't sold yet. But this was a tactical decision on my part. I did know this was the wrong thing to do, but I wanted to write something in a world that I knew, in characters that I knew, and I already had an idea for the sequel. As I was writing the first book, I see this as a trilogy. I think I know parts of where the third book's going to go. So it's not as if I'm starting from scratch. I'm kind of got a good base, I think. But I think I failed for... I've got 7 reasons here. Number 1, writing is hard. It's hard to take images and thoughts and feelings and sensations that are in your brain, just in your pure imagination, just firing in electrical signals inside this noggin, and put it into words. To put it into words that make sense. To put it into words that sound good. I can write for about 25 minutes at a time, and then I just run out of energy. And in that time, I write about 800 words, 600 to 800 words, depending on some of them. Sometimes I write for 15 minutes and write 800 words. Sometimes I write for 25, 30 minutes and I write 200 words, and it's like pulling teeth. Writing is hard. It's just hard. It's hard to put, and it's not just like you could just, for me anyway, I can't just turn up, open the laptop and just start writing. I need to get into it, you know. I need to warm up. But I don't really know how to warm up. So I just end up procrastinating and not doing anything. And then going, oh, I've missed that time now. And I don't write anything. So writing is hard. Number 2, NaNoWriMo is hard. Not only is writing difficult, writing 50,000 words in a month is very, very difficult. Even super prolific writers like Stephen King probably write at about that speed. It breaks down to, if you write every single day, it's 1,667 words every single day. Every single day. Every day for a month. That's really hard work. And so if you take off days, you then have to write way more than that. Yeah, so just the goal itself is very hard. So that's 2 reasons. Number 3 is I haven't written for a really long time. I haven't written for 3 years, probably. I've thought about things. I've done a bit of world building, a bit of character development in my brain, made a few notes, but actually sitting and writing, I haven't done it. And I'd done the equivalent of signing up for the marathon, not even signing up for the marathon, turning up at the start line for the marathon, still wearing, you know, jeans and a hoodie and carrying a cup of tea and a dressing gown and a newspaper and some slippers, like not prepared, not ready at all. So I wrote for the first 3 days, and I hit my word count goal for the first 3 days, and I was exhausted. I didn't have the endurance to write, and so then I took some days off, and then I looked at the word count goal, and I was already behind. By taking a day off, I was already behind. I was struggling. I was really struggling to keep up at that pace. I struggled for 3. I couldn't do it for 4 days. I could do it for 3 days. I couldn't do it for 4 days, let alone 30 days. So, number 4 is I feel like I hadn't done enough preparation. I decided I was going to do NaNoWriMo like October the 28th. Something stupid, like something right towards the end. And there, in terms of writing, you have different kinds of writers in terms of preparedness. You have people that are called plotters, which is like this end of the scale, and people who are called pantsers, which is this end of the scale. It is a spectrum. Plotters are people who write for this end. They basically write the whole book in their outline. And so when they're actually writing the novel, they are merely taking the outline and concentrating on the language. Or they know exactly what's going to happen in the plot. They know what the characters are going to say. They know what they're going to do. They know how the world is going to change. They know this is where you explore the themes. They know all of that. They have prepared all of that. Pantsers are writes by the seat of their pants. It's the name. It's the term. And what they do is they start writing and they just go with their feelings. Where does the character take them? What does the character decide to do? Well, the character decides to do this. Well, therefore, that's the plot. The character decides to go to this location. Therefore, that's the location. and it's very organic and unknowable. And I think George R. R. Martin calls them architects and gardeners, which I think is a nice metaphor. Architects draw out exactly where the building is going to go. This is where you're going to put the trellising. The plants are going to grow up here. Gardeners, you just plant them, plant the seeds, and you watch them grow, and they just grow. You know what the seed is. You know it's a chili tree or an apple tree, and so it grows, and it just grows to the size that it is, and you just water it and look after it and let it grow. Me, first book I wrote, I think, was about here on the scale, and the second book I wrote was about up here on the scale. Um, this one I didn't finish, so I moved back to here, but I didn't give myself enough time to be prepared. So I'm thinking this book. I like writing short chapters, like short page turny, like dynamic chapters. You know, cliffhanger, 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 bang, 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 bang. And so the first book and the first draft was like 40 chapters and ended up coming down to about 30, 35, something like that. So I was like, 40 chapters is a good thing to aim for. You know, you got 4 sections of the book for 4 quarters, and it's a nice way to break it up. I'd only planned 10 chapters when I started. And when I wrote the first book, I found that writing helped ignite creativity. So I did that. I only had the first few chapters planned out as I was writing. I was like, oh wow, then this could happen, then this could happen. And that's why first book was a bit more kind of in the middle, because as soon as I started writing, I started to know these characters better, and then I could understand. Oh well, at this point in chapter 28, they have this decision to make. Well, I know what they would do now, so that's why I'm going to write that in. So I was actually plotting and writing at the same time when I wrote the first book. NaNoWriMo, you haven't got the time for that. You just don't have the time, or I didn't have the time anyway. And I noticed I had 10 chapters planned out. I wrote 3, 4, 5 chapters, and already things were starting to change. Things that I had said, my thing in chapter 7 was probably more closer to chapter 12, 13, 15. You know, I needed a load of stuff to happen because I had to meet a whole new set of characters. I needed to introduce those characters. I needed to have organic interactions with those characters to understand their goals and what they're trying to achieve and who they are and where they come from. And in this whole new world, their world has changed, you know. And I didn't plan any of that. And that was, I think I almost wrote one chapter completely blind. And then after that, I struggled and stopped. So I had quite a bit of thought on the world and on the characters, but I didn't have enough on the plot in any way. Not enough preparation. Reason number 5. Sorry, this is such a long video, by the way, but this is where we are. Reason number 5. I didn't dedicate or prioritize my time towards writing. So, I have a job. I work full time. I have 2 kids. I have hobbies and interests and meet family and friends. And I just added writing on top. I didn't go, well, if I'm putting writing in, I need to move some stuff around. I didn't do that. I just plonked it on top, like a bin that's already full of rubbish, and I just go and put this huge thing on top and it's just balancing. And what happened? It fell off. I didn't prioritize my time. I didn't dedicate any time to writing properly. Those first 3 days, I was trying to fit it in. I was writing, like, after I've put my kids to bed. I was writing before I went to bed. I was writing at like 11:30 at night to try and hit my word count goal for the day. I couldn't do that. I couldn't maintain that because I was still trying to do everything else. And I think one thing I need to think about is how do I prioritize my time if I want to write. Yeah, so didn't allocate time to it. Reason number 6 is I wrote for the first 3-4 days, then it was the weekend, and I took my kids out somewhere. We had a really nice day, and I was like, I'm not going to write today. Like, I've had a really nice day. I've used up all my energy, and then what I did I was like, well, I have that's 1,667 words that I need to make up. But I've actually had a really nice weekend, and I don't want to write on the weekends. I only want to write during the week. So I put Saturday, Sunday. I had a little tracker. I put Saturday, Sunday every day to 0, just to see what that did to the goal, what the total I had to do. I added 50% to my word count goal every day by just taking weekends off. And I saw that. That was when I failed NaNoWriMo. That was it. Because I saw that and I went, well, I've just absolutely busted a gut for 3 days. Getting to 1,600 words every day. Just a bit over 1,600 words. Now I need to write like 2,400. It's literally 50% more. And I can't do that. I don't have the time or the skill or the energy to write 50% more than I'm currently doing when I'm writing at 11:30 at night, trying to hit my word count goal for the day. And so I gave up. And since then, I haven't written a word. I've just lost. It felt like a chore, felt like a task, it felt like more work. And during this time, with work, I've taken on a new project, which is difficult and challenging and taxing on the brain, trying to learn what people are talking about, trying to learn who these people are that I'm working with. It's like a new job. It's like a new project work. It's like starting a new job. And then I got a bit sick, and my daughter was sick, and it's winter in England, so everyone is sick. Yeah, and so I just didn't have the time, the energy, or the skill to hit that goal, and I immediately gave up, and I haven't written since. And the final reason, which is one, it's a very, very soft reason. The others are very hard. Not enough time, not enough energy. Writing is hard. Didn't do enough practice. Is for the past 3 years, 3 and a bit years. 3 years, I think. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. We play every week. In the pandemic, we were playing twice, sometimes 3 times a week, all on Skype, all online, and I'm the dungeon master. So I come up with the stories, I come up with the characters, I come up with the world, I come up with the plots. That's writing. The fun thing is that you're doing it with friends, so it's not all on you. And one thing that I've learnt is that as a dungeon master, you set problems for your characters, the players, your friends. You set problems for them. You don't set the solutions. They need to think of that. That's part of the fun. Hey, you're in a volcano and it's starting to erupt. What do you do? That's all you need to do, and then they do all the rest of the work. And I found when I was trying to plot and I was trying to write, I was really good at coming up with sources of conflict. Hey, there's a secret here. One of these people is lying. You don't know who they are. How are you going to figure that out, characters? And that bit, I didn't know. I didn't know how to solve the problems that I was setting for my characters. And when I was writing, I really struggled to figure out how they do it in a way that felt organic, like the characters would do it. And I think that's because I don't use those muscles when playing Dungeons and Dragons. And D&D, playing D&D is collaborative storytelling, and it is storytelling, and it's really enjoyable, and it's so much easier than writing a book. So much easier. So much less work. And you're not alone while you're doing it. And you get to bounce ideas off people and have a laugh. And they come up with crazy stuff. And if you're at an impasse, you roll some little funny shaped blocks and they decide what happens. So, I was writing, then we had the pandemic, and then playing Dungeons and Dragons. That has tanked my writing, but I feel like it's increased my creativity. It allows me to use my creativity. I do it every week, and I really enjoy it. And for me, has it replaced writing? I think so. Do I still want to keep writing? Yes, I feel like I do. Have I figured out how to keep writing? No, I haven't. I haven't figured that out yet. And I finished writing my first book like 4 years ago, I want to say. And that's a long time. Is anyone else going to read it? I don't know. That makes me a bit sad because I've put a lot of time and energy and focus into it. But then I haven't written I haven't written again properly for years since. And it felt like when I was writing, I was starting from zero again. It felt like I was I'd had the high of finishing a book, and then starting again, it was that finish felt a million miles away. So I feel in my bones that I want to keep writing, that I want to be a storyteller, but I just haven't figured out how yet. But one thing I do know is that NaNoWriMo is probably not that method, and will never be that method. So yeah, let's see what happens. I think I need to figure out a way to manage my time and my energy and my focus to try and put writing in somewhere into that group, that load of things that I want to do, and some things might have to drop. But I need to figure out what those things might be. It will never be family. It will never be family. But some other things might have to drop. And I haven't figured that out yet. So, sorry this is a bit of a... I don't mean it to be somber, but it's just being real. It's just being real. I tried to do something and I failed spectacularly at it. And I hope you other people in the world have achieved NaNoWriMo and succeeded it, won it, winning it. I hope you won NaNoWriMo. I did not. But it did help put into focus what I need to do, or what I need to think about, and what I might need to change if I want to keep writing, if I want to be writing, if I want to be a writer. So maybe in the long run, it might end up being a win. Anyway, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Please comment below, give this video a like, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm not getting emotional, I just have hiccups. Anyway, I'll see you later. And get out of my house!